Hey guys, Josh here with Inktology, and tonight's just going to be a continuation of Friday night where I was just drawing, having fun with the Cheribum. And this is a version of it. If you don't know what a Cheribum is, it is a creature from the biblical stories of a eagle head, a lion's head, an ox, and a human all merged together with four wings, and the body isn't really described, but it has hooves of like a goat calf feet. So it's a really creepy thing. And so there was one version where it was just like this hydra kind of four-headed creature, and then this is kind of a more profile. And yeah, maybe I'll start with this guy and then come up here and finish this stuff later. We're just gonna have fun for about an hour. So if you haven't done it already, please like and subscribe. And yeah, we'll just have some fun. Using the Micron Pigma brush, kind of fill in all these darker spaces and get the. I think I've worn it down a little bit too much. Oh well, we're just gonna make the best of it. One tip about these pens with the brush tips is that you want to be pulling all the time instead of pushing. So not pushing this direction, like don't do this, but be pulling so it keeps the tips sharp. Anyway, you don't damage your brush pens. The same goes for brushes itself. Going sideways is not that bad of a deal, but it still will jack it up. As you can see, there's some lines there. Oh yeah, I wanted to thank everybody for joining too, because I reached 600 followers on YouTube, and that is a great goal for me. So I'm gonna start a Patreon very soon. I just been, working really hard on this other stuff. Trying to get my card game to work, get it out there. Get the marketing is like a thing that I don't do well, I guess. At least not on a card game, but the game is fun. It's got great reviews. It's pretty much flawless. It's a fun game for a battle board game / trading card game, first of its kind, called I Am Champion TCG. You can go to IamChampionTCG.com if you want to try it out. It's very fun. Has season 2 cards coming out. I am not the artist though. That's the crazy thing, which is actually the cool thing too, because it allows me to learn business aspects that I want to learn. Doing art is always fun, and I highly recommend being an artist, of course, but it doesn't mean it's my like go-to thing all the time. I want to learn business stuff. I want to, stretch my skills, and it's important to do so, because if you get stuck in just doing art and not marketing yourself, learning how to market, then growing is going to be hard. Some of your best artists and people in the business have multiple skill sets, and they learn it, as they get older, how to develop them correctly, such as marketing or self-promoting and being confident in those areas. And those are areas that I need to work on as well. So, YouTube is a phenomenal asset to the artist, because it allows the artist to be an introvert, really. And all you have to do is film yourself. And if you can just do that and be consistent, then you can have people really enjoy your art and get it out there. Try to help my nephew and niece and start doing it, because they're very funny kids, and they're big into Pokemon and stuff, the opening and all that jazz. And they like the whole idea of having a following and educating people, as well as do I. I mean, not the following, just more like educating and communicating. I think having fun with cool, amazing people like all of you is something I truly enjoy, because you're all artists, or you have the desire about the arts or creativity, and that's why you're watching this. Otherwise, you accidentally clicked on this video, and I apologize. It's not what you wanted. Or maybe it is. But I'm very thankful for you. So yeah, doing the trading card game has been tough, but it's picking up. It's doing better. Making sales internationally is nice. We worked on it. My buddy and I worked on it for 2.5 years now, maybe 3. I don't know. Lost track of time. Okay, let's talk about the Cheribum, though, because that's what you're probably thinking. Like, why is he talking about his Cheribum? So, doodling this guy, I was thinking I wanted to go a little bit the comic book route of design. At least the structure of them, big shoulders, big, like, monster-ish, and, build out something like that, but then kind of detail it very classical, cross-hatching. So that's what we'll probably do, is I'll start going in there with fine detail and lines and just overcomplicate the drawing. The Cheribum are a angel sector of very strong, very powerful. Hey TF, what's up? Welcome. Powerful angels that stand above most angels. Very few are above the Cheribum. They're pretty much, world destroyers kind of characters. Even Michael, I think, is even up there with the Cheribum. How's your day going, TF? I wanted to say I saw the new Crow trailer. I have mixed feelings about the Crow trailer. I like the actor, Skarsgård, is it? Or I forget who it is, but I really like him as an actor, and there's a little bit of this Joker vibe going on. It's kind of weird. I see the crow. I don't know. The whole tatted up thing is kind of like, I guess what they're trying to do, as you know, me working in film and stuff, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it more appealing to the modern age dark themes, because like, you know, none of the kids today are going to understand what Brandon Lee's long hair and the guitar thing is really about. We think they would, but it's not really the cool vibe. The cool vibe is the tattoos and the, you know, the Joker look. That's pretty dark. But the thing that what sucked, I think, which really kind of threw me off, was his makeup. I was like, that's not the crow. That's not, you know, that's not the vibe they should be sticking with. They should have stuck with the same makeup as Brandon had, at least. But the scenes look cool. The movie itself looks fun. It doesn't look as dark. Yeah, I don't know why that's the case. It should be really dark. But I guess we'll have to see, right? Trailers sometimes do a terrible justice to films, so we will see. It could be good. It could be really good. I mean, you got good actors in it. You have a new take with a modern, you know, cinematography and, you know, higher production than the other movies were, the part 2 and 3. So we'll see. I'm just going to have high hopes for now for it. Okay, let's see. Got his horns looking good. Let me see. Let me turn on my YouTube real quick. Yeah, it's much easier to look at the screen. I really need to work on my wing drawings, the style of wings. Really get it railed in. Ads all the time. So in the comic book that I'm creating, I want to make the alternate side of the comic. So there's two parts of the comic: the story with the action of the human tale, but then there's the spiritual world where everything that they do in the spiritual world affects the physical world, and everything in the physical world is a combination of growing towards the spiritual world. For example, like way time works in this is that humans here on planet Earth, from the beginning of time till the futuristic cybernetic whatever life that we may achieve in reality and within the comic, it goes towards a point that we become part of the angelic creatures themselves that are able to travel in time. We get to that point because it's kind of like the spiritual world just has to develop that way in this comic book world, which is, kind of part of the fun. So that way, when, let's say, Michael is having an argument with Lucifer, or they're having a battle or whatever, in the human world, there may be the war where Nero takes down the temple or something like this. And I did this I'm creating it this way in order to have a couple answers for the spiritual realities of the Bible that aren't really fully answered. And this will help, I think, believers and non-believers to kind of see, two different aspects of what is possible and what may be a logical representation to the spiritual world, or how to understand it. Not to say that Christianity or the Bible is 100% accurate, or even true in its attempts, but to give some fun imagination towards it all. I'll probably be blasphemous in a lot of it. I think a lot of believers may find it to be not pleasing to them, because, to be a part of the faith, you have to kind of submit to certain ideas that I'm going to have to break in order to be historically accurate, as well as imaginatively enticing with my own version of it. But in order to do that, who knew? I have to create a Bible myself, which kind of sucks. Because what I realized in my studies throughout the years is that there's no Bible that you can go purchase that has all the books that were originally considered, biblical stories that might be accountable towards what really happened, or how the culture actually developed. Now, to say that is a little bit bold. I think a lot of people might find a weird offense to it, but hey, forgive me. This is my stuff and my concept to it. But here's an example. You have the Mormons, right? And you have Jehovah's Witnesses, and the Mormons, have their own versions of what, like, I think it's Joseph Smith, and the stuff that other Christian denominations won't accept. And I don't think anybody would accept it because it's kind of radical and a little weird, and it's almost like Scientology meets Christianity in a more intense way. So that kind of book, obviously, I won't talk about those stories. And if I do, it will be more of a realistic version of, John Smith being a kid and like kind of wanting to be, recognized in the community. So he just makes up stuff and like, magic underpants and all that jazz. And what this gold plates really say and stuff versus what the congregants and people believe in. But if you're a believer of it, I can't tell you anything. So you do you, man. You do you. But for example, first Maccabees and second Maccabees, sorry, macro. I'm not thinking of macaroni. The book of Enoch, even the Gnostic Gospels, I feel like should be in the Bible to give a good perspective of what happened to the faith and how people took it in different ways. And so I want to combine all that, especially like the book of Enoch, where it has the Watchers, and Enoch is in the Protestant Bible, and the first, second Maccabees is in the Catholic, and they have historical status and actual truths in them where wars and conquering, and priests were actual people that lived, and we have documentation towards it. So it's just like some of the wild claims in it, like prophecies and stuff, that don't really translate well, because then you're like, oh, okay, well, this has obviously been messed with, and it's not, it's hard to decipher what Israel was trying to do, Israelites and Jews were trying to do by telling these stories in this fashion. But yeah, like, I don't believe that the Bible is inerrant or the Word of God. I think it's man's version of what God it could be for the Israelites. And then Christians took it a whole different way altogether, just 100% different way. So in order to combine all that, I have to actually create the Bible and get it published with all these books in it, so I can read it through and then jot down the notes I need to create the visual version of the Bible, which is the comic book version, but not like a comic book, but like a more of a really intense graphic, graphic novel of the Bible. Taking drawings like, this and stuff, and, dwindling it down to more like something more of a detailed version of something like this character here, who is Astarte, the goddess, the consort of God back in the day. He had a consort, or at least Baal or Els. Keeping it a little bit imaginative and stuff, but then also trying to be as accurate as possible and study it correctly. It's quite the challenge. But yeah, so first I have to actually combine all the books, and I've actually finally got them all listed. I just have to make sure that the dates that they were written and the time periods that they're trying to talk about are in order, so that way I'm not jumping around too much. And I think that's going to help a lot of believers in the faith. It'll be called the Heretic Bible, I'm sure. I'm sure people are going to be like, this cannot be. But like, the Ethiopians, they have one of the oldest Bibles known, and they have the Book of Enoch in theirs, yet Protestants don't keep it in theirs. Or, the Gospel of, secret Gospels that were found in, Nag Hammadi and other locations, Gospel of Mary and stuff. They don't put these things in there. And that's because there's a lot of control over the religion through Protestants and stuff. But I think if we were to break that down and show that all the books that were, 100 BC, or even some that were because a lot of these Gospels are like almost 100 AD when they were written, 70 to 90. The Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, which would be Mark, Matthew, Luke, John, would be 75 AD to 100 AD when they were written, after even the letters of Paul. So, I'd have to put these in time and accurate understanding, and then see all of the, the prophecies that they try to talk about, and see how I can line them up and create a good story and combine them all and make sure that they're not leaving any real room for people to interpret it all wacky and stuff. So it's a very hard task, but I've been wanting to do it since I was a kid. So it's a fun task now that I'm older and able to have the education and knowledge to do so. But definitely not easy. Definitely not easy. Okay, so here's the cherubim. This is him with an eagle face, taking the main features of the four animals: the ox, the eagle, the lion mane. You can see the mane here. And the human form. Probably do the eyes. Yeah. Kind of cat-like eyes, Is cat eyes sideways? Or is it long ways? I think it's long ways. Vertical. Randy, good evening. How are you doing, man? How's your Monday? Or how was your weekend? My weekend flew by too fast. I've been packing orders for my card game all weekend, and I'm exhausted from it. Like just folding these boxes and packing hundreds of orders and packs. I mean, ugh. But hopefully in a couple days I'll be done. So, Frozzy Tango, welcome, Frozzy. How was your weekend? Hope you had a good one. Just coming in here, doing some fun stuff. You worked all weekend, huh? Well, it's good that it's settling down now. You gotta get some drawing practice in. I didn't get it. I got like 30 minutes in this weekend. I was supposed to put out a YouTube video, an actual like legitimate one, but I didn't even get to sit down and edit it or even draw on it because I was so busy packing. But hopefully tomorrow I'll be done with most of the packing, and then I can settle down to start drawing and editing. After I fill out some applications and apply for some more work. Hard shadows? Yeah, hard shadows took me a long time to figure out. But honestly, just put a lot down and see what happens, and leave a. Sometimes it's even better to put down just a whole bunch of shadows and not put any details, and then start drawing around the shadows to kind of fill out, the stuff. But, it's just one of those things you gotta practice, too, because it's always going to be hard. I hate it. Like right here, I've been deciding whether or not this was even necessary to have in between his stomach, but if I don't have it, it'll just go pull black, and then there'll be a lack of like detail, so I had to put something there. But is it 100%? Just one of those things you gotta either love what, hopefully it works out and you love it, or just deal with it, Because he probably should have more hard shadows going this direction, as if. Oh no, his light's coming from this side. His is the one coming from that side. But it don't matter. The cool thing about putting hard shadows and like filling in stuff with black is that after you're done with all the detail, you can just go over top of it where I've even taken pictures of my images and then put them in my iPad and then started hard shadowing afterwards to kind of play with it, because then you're not messing up anything. And then I'll go back and then actually detail it in the way I need to. Is there any projects you guys are drawing right now and working on? Any cool characters you're trying to do? Anime or comic book characters? After this Cheribum character, I kind of started thinking about what normal angels would look like. Because in the Bible, only like Michael and some other ones are considered a human. Sodom and Gomorrah, there's like these two human figures that were considered angels, but you know, I don't think that they're human looking. They must have some really weird deformities of how they look, because you know they're meant to be terrifying. Biblically, they consider themselves very terrifying because they always meet everybody and say, you know, fear not. They tell them, don't be afraid. And if you're telling someone don't be afraid, they obviously don't look human, because you're not going to be afraid of a human, right? So, and plus, I think, like, you know, we have Da Vinci and Michelangelo and all these like famous artists who created these versions of what angels may look like in the Renaissance. And I think they were just they're pleasing the Catholic version of it, and also atoning towards that at that time, that's what, you know, the creativity of drawing characters were about. But now that we're in the future, you know, we have an understanding of how to create much more wildly diverse characters that look different. And so, I mean, they had it back in the ancient days, but I guess they just stopped because, you know, the Renaissance time period in England and in Europe worked more towards the flowing robes and stuff. Squint your eyes. Yeah, squinting your eyes helps. I mean, sometimes. Yeah, I've done that technique a couple times where you squint and kind of get the shadows where you want it to be, where you think they should be. So for this character here, we've done his lion's mane as just straight lines. And then in order to put shadows in where I would want them, like I'd want some here, I would just go over these lines a little bit one more time to create some depth to his hair. But I wouldn't cross shadow it, because then it would turn into a texture and they'll lose the hair quality. Right? So whenever I do the bottom part right here real quick, let's see. I'm going to double up on these lines and going much closer. And that should put some space between his mane and the fur. Well, I'm sure you're doing good. I'm sure yeah, it's going to be hard. I always struggle with it. I study it all the time because it's always something that progresses. Like, I think the trick that a lot of us artists do, let me show you, is this technique. You'll see it in comic books a lot, where you do a couple cross-hatching lines like this, and then going from the same point to create the bend in the fabric or the object. But the issue is always lies where when you pull off, that's not a straight line, right? So like I pulled off too early on some of these. Like this one's longer, this one's short, this one's here. And then figuring out how to continue to create lines to match. You know, when you see old school drawings, they have a beautiful variety of lines that come across in cross hatching. And it's just kind of, it's hard to place them. You're like, well, which direction should I place it? Which one I can do? But you know, I don't know if it, I think a lot of the time people, like artists, don't really think about it and get lucky. I think a lot of them get lucky and they just go with it. And some have their own style that they've developed. Like I've had to get away from being so perfect and like so clean. It's annoying to really work. And then doing this, this is the number that I get annoyed with, is like darkening those same lines, because then you can pull off a little bit and it jacks it up. But you want it, yeah, or let's see. Ooh, what wiggly lines. Oh my gosh. Like doing that to make them darker in certain shadowy areas. That's what I was doing here on some of these, which I'll do in a second actually. You've been drawing a comic yourself? Yeah. Well, you can always take a photo of the drawing before you crosshatch and stuff, and then put it in the iPad. If you have an iPad, it'd be easy to go and practice there before you put it on ink. Or maybe even do a simple version of some of the characters' spots where you're going to crosshatch and just draw it on the side first or on another piece of paper. If you don't want to mess up like the perfect, drawing and stuff. But that's cool, dude. That's very cool that you're doing a comic book. So here it looks really, oh man, you can't even see what I'm drawing. I'm gonna have the paper up there, my bad. So here you can see that there's a division between this hair and this hair, but it looks goofy because there's weird thick lines just shooting up out of here. In order to fix that, I would have to go in and realize that, like, okay, so there's the black shadow. I need to continue from the black shadow going upwards and making it merge. So I could either take this pen and continue to go like this, which is one way of doing it. Let's see how it works. Don't even know if it's going to work. So the thing about cross-hatching, you're not sure if it's going to look good until you've done most of the cross-hatching. And yeah, it works. It does the job. Yeah, it should work. Yeah, inking digitally is fun, especially with all those different brushes they give you. And then if you mess up, you know, like it's not even a mess up because you can just undo and try again. It's fantastic. Like I use Procreate for a lot of client work, and it's freaking phenomenal. It's truly one of the best programs I've ever used. So his fur's looking all right. It's not my greatest work, but it'll do. I love ink. Ink has such a beautiful like vibe to it. It's like so permanent, but it's also so it could be smooth, it could be rough, it could be, you know, all kinds of different textures and feelings to it. I mean, pencils obviously it can do anything, but to do something with ink makes you feel, I don't know, it's confidence boosting, you know, because you know if it looks good and you made a perfect line, you don't get a second chance making that line. You can't really erase it, so it feels good to complete something and have it look, you know, what you want it to look like, or even better sometimes. So, what's the comic book about? What is the topic? You want to talk about it? No, you don't want to talk. You keep it secret. I know how it is. I want to keep stuff secret too. Not tell about my comic book, but we'll see. Well, Randy, I hope you do it sooner than later, man. You know, you need. What I've learned was, I did this. I said it the same thing actually, and it kind of hindered me. You might not be this way, but I'm this way. If I don't do it right away, and it becomes more of a dream and a fantasy, it won't happen. So whether it looks like crap or not, I need to put it out there, and then, you know, because like, let's say I just stuck with this look and I went and made a whole comic book out of this guy. This isn't exactly what I wanted for my design style, you know, like I showed earlier. This is what I want from my design style, where there's more of a clean lines and stuff. It's more classical, Renaissance-y line work than having just like this Todd McFarlane look, or this kind of look, even it's almost too comic booky. But you know, even if I did put it out there, like I can't be mad at myself. I put out something. So I think if you guys are gonna do it, like, you're working on 2 stories, nice. Cyberpunk world and Byzantine, wow, those are extremely different. What? Well, you got your cut. You know, you have your work cut out for you, Frozzy. But I'm excited to hear about it and see it, man. Got any characters designed? And you too, Randy. You got any characters that you guys been developing that you kind of got a cool story for or background for? Because that'd be cool. I like seeing people's new I love Cyberpunk. I need to finish the game. Never even finished the video game. Kind of got lost in, like, it's such one of those like worlds. Yeah, the work is a lot. The work is absurd. Like, just this one story of the Bible with Ehud in Judges is a short. It's only like 3 paragraphs long. That's how big the story is. It gets real to the point. But then when I started researching it and started getting information of like the characters and stuff like that, I had to learn. Was it the 12th century BCE or 1200 BC, right, to 1300 is like, or 1300 to 1200 is the time period when like the Bronze Age was like collapsing in, you know, the Middle East and in Europe. And so there was a whole different way of doing life, and that's why some of this was even possible. And then the different gods that they worship, like, you know, and all this kind of stuff. So it's a lot of work. No, you should never worry about your skill. Here's why. Here's the biggest myth. Some of your best-selling comic books, some of your best artwork that gets put out there, is actually artwork that looks like it looks like a 4-year-old drew it. You know what I mean? Not to be mean to the artist, but that's what you would kind of compare it to in some sense. But then the reason why it becomes so beautiful and all that stuff is because the confidence behind that and the story behind it outweighs the perspective that we as artists judge each other on, whether it's good or not. You could look at this and be like, "Oh, this is crap." But Josh, like this cherubim looks like Dookie, and I could think, "Oh, it looks fantastic, and I love it." And the next thing you know, everyone's going to be on my side for it because the artist, as long as the artist likes it and feels like, it's the character, their story, then it's going to be fine. And perfect example, Akira with Dragon Ball Z, right? He was rejected, and people told him to stop drawing. His characters were weak. They were simple line work, and their muscles were square and blocky. They weren't these, it wasn't like a Final Fantasy artwork or anything like that. It was what he did, but he loved it so much that other people started to love it because his characters lived it out. So you don't have to worry. You really don't have to worry. Honestly, one of my friends does his characters are just like they're blocks, like they're not even blocks, they're brush strokes, they're just crap. Not crap, I'm not like that, but like comparably to what you would imagine a comic book would have, you would go, "Oh, that's just junk." But then you see it in a full page, and you see a whole page of it, and then you're like, "Oh my God, this is beautiful. This is out of control beautiful." And it blows your mind because the dialogue, and then what happens is when you start drawing, you as the artist instantly start looking at details and the style of shading and all these kind of different things in the artwork. But what you're forgetting is that it's not totally about the artwork. It's about how the artwork portrays the story. Here, I'll show you one of my favorites. So Marvel has, Alex Ross came out with a book with a whole bunch of different artists in it. And Alex Ross is obviously, like, he's one of the masters. Here we go. Look. So you can see here, these are just brush strokes. I think this is digital. I don't know. But look at this web. Look at blue. And then he brush stroked in some other stuff. Characters aren't even fully in detailed or anything. And then you don't have to really worry because the water, look at the water. It doesn't have anything to do with water. It's just, you know what I mean? Like, if I was to take this panel out and show someone this, someone would go, "Josh, why are you drawing like a little kid?" But this is a professional. This dude, the artist here is, who's the artist here? Spider-Man, Frank Espinoza. Yeah, exactly. And then this is vastly different too. Simple lines. But the characters are what we're in love with. We could care less about the art style. I'm good to hear, Frozzy. Yeah, man. Just put it out there because the story is what we're going to fall in love with, right? We don't care about the art as much as we care about what you're trying to say with the art. Yeah. Mosquitoes. Oh my gosh. How did a mosquito get in here? Oh man, I hate mosquitoes. Yeah, so that's why, look, I'm not afraid at all of putting in my art working out anymore because I used to do hyperrealism stuff, with pencil, and it was like portraits and stuff. And I realized every time I saw it, yeah, people would comment and be like, "Oh, that's nice. It's very detailed," and they loved it. Like they're like, "Oh, wow, you're so talented," or whatever, But it felt like fake compliments because they weren't really looking at it. They weren't really seeing what I wanted them to see out of it. They were seeing skills. And if they were looking at the skills more than they were looking at the story, then I lost. I failed. Like, that's how I felt. I was like, well, then That's not what I'm trying to get across. I'm trying to get them to believe in this person's like emotions or like the history of who they are. And that's where comic books and graphic novels and anime mangas and stuff like that outweigh anything else, is because when you flip those pages, you're reading, you know, Goku has been, he has like, he has to find the Dragon Balls spread across the universe in order to revive his, his life, his, whatever, because he was beaten in a battle. And you're like, what? Oh my God. Like, I just need to read this. What does this mean? And the next thing you know, you don't even look at the art. You're looking at these specific little moments that they're creating. So, yeah, fear not, is what an angel would say. Tell your story, have fun, don't make it perfect, try not to make it perfect. And then what you're going to find out is once you're done, have a completed piece of art, piece of work, it's going to be perfect. Because even if at the end you're like, oh man, I'm not a fan of my own book, I bet you more than anything, someone's going to be like, I love this thing, I want it on my wall, I want to read it every other day. I hope you come out with more issues, because you're feeling the imagination of someone else that you didn't even think about. And there's a lot of people on earth. So do it for them, Ah, the mosquito got me good. What on earth? Got me on my neck. But I understand how to be hard, like being hard on yourself and stuff. I understand it fully. That's what's taken me so long to start drawing again, and that's why my YouTube is only at 600 people, is because I'm a perfectionist in many ways. And then I finally just gave up and was like, you know what? I'm just gonna doodle and have fun, or I'm just gonna start drawing, and then I will start picking up new techniques and stuff as I go. I don't have time to waste on beating myself up because I want to edit the perfect video, or I want to draw the perfect drawing and film it correctly. And kudos to people who can do that, but that's not Josh Lamb. That's not what Inktology is about. Plus, I don't know who you guys are, Frozzy or Randy, but I promise you, if you put out some work, just because we've already chatted just a little bit and I got to experience kind of your, the humor or imagination you guys have, I bet you're going to put out fantastic work, and I would love to support it. And that's cute. There it is. Oh, got you, punk. Oh man, killed it, but no, messed up my stuff. Yeah, he gave him a piece of the art. Yeah, I feel you, Frozzy. That's the same for me. It's the same for me. I'm an overthinker for sure. I was thinking, yeah, whenever I do that, sometimes I do that on, like, I'll mess up or like scratch it or spill something. I'll just go in and just, make it into a rock. And no, oh my gosh, it ruined my pen because of the oils. Dude, what? Yeah, some little rocks. No one will ever know. They'll think it's shading. That was once a life. A life that needed to die. I don't know a single person who likes mosquitoes. I don't know why anybody would. Like, some people like spiders and snakes and all that kind of stuff. But no one likes mosquitoes. No one's like, oh, I want to have a pet mosquito. Protect the mosquitoes. They're endangered. No one would ever say that. They give diseases and they're gross and they're painful and they're useless. Probably good for population control though, for animals and humans and stuff. For the Ehud story that I'm trying to develop, I had been working on it for a little while, the story, and I got the 3 books kind of like thought out. The first book is about the story is, well, the issue is the story is about Ehud, who's a left-handed, pretty much an assassin, like ninja, and you kind of follow him as he goes and pays tribute to the King Eglon of Moab, right? And he pays tribute, but then when he's paying tribute, he tells all the guys to leave the palace room where he's giving his tribute to the king, this big, heavy-set, fat, like, king who's gluttonous and all this kind of stuff and perverted and whatever. And then he goes up and stabs him in the stomach, and then poop comes out and stuff. And it's like, and then he escapes off the roof and then rallies an army, comes back and kills 10,000 Moabites. That's pretty much the story. But then I was like, you know what? That's not what they're not telling you in that story is the length of time it takes for a guy to gather the tribute, to travel with a group of people to the king's palace. What's the king's palace look like? And then who is King Eglon? Like, how did he become so big and heavyset? Like, was he a skinny guy? Was he a warrior? How did he become such high place, and all this kind of stuff. So I have to look at history and try to find out who he is. But the problem is that the Bible has a lot of history that it kind of makes up a little bit and kind of like twists to benefit the Israelite narrative, right? Like all countries do. So then you're like, well, history lost this guy, and his history is lost in history. So I can really make up a little bit of who he is and how he is. So do I want to tell the story of Ehud altogether? So the first book isn't even actually about Ehud at all. It's really about King Eglon as a young man developing his hunger to be king, and then showing hints of Ehud in there. Right, and then telling the story of how Ehud became someone outcast by society and why he would be considered one to pay the tribute and stuff. So I get to play with the bad guy for once, which was really cool. I never even thought of that until I started studying it, and I was like, oh man, that's the route I need to go. Is instead of working on just like this hero story of Ehud being the assassin that sets Israel free, what if I got to like develop Eglon, the king who became this, his name means fat calf. And how did he get to this point? Like, right? So he's a Moabite who rallied up the Ammonites and Amalekites on his side to take over Israel and oppress them for 18 years. So like, how did he convince them? He must have been somewhat intelligent or clever. So I get to play the bad guy and I get to make a guy turn into the bad guy. And then the second book is where Ehud, his story gets more developed into, and then he attacks and does this assassination. But then the third book is about the war, where he escapes and goes and he has to convince the Israelites that he did the job of killing the Moabite king and then killing 10,000 people, which is really, really, like, it's complex and hard. I did not expect it to be this tough, but it also gives a really good story that I don't think is told in the biblical sense. When people think Bible stories, they think, Noah's Ark and, the flood or Jesus or something like that. And it's really washed down, boring stuff. So I get to kind of create, a lot of cool details. But I am a perfectionist, so that's what's taking me so long to even write this out, is because I want to connect the spiritual realm where cherubims have an effect on that world as well. But then I'm going to have to actually cancel that idea and come up with it later somehow for it to merge. So we'll see. I'm gonna probably start writing next week after some stuff, kind of calms down. I need to start writing an hour a day, actually. So I might wake up early, because that's when I have my brain working the best on creativity, is in the morning or late at night like now. But yeah, if you guys are working on characters and stuff, show them, man. Like, let's see it. Don't be shy. Yeah, thanks. The Old Testament does have a lot of interesting stories. The Book of Judges is my favorite. It's just hardcore all the way. Wars and killing people. God is like on the bad guy's side instead of the good on the Israelite side half the time. So it's like it's crazy. I was going to do Samson and Delilah, but from the story of Delilah perspective instead of Samson. But then, because it's such an interesting story that people do know, I want to do a better study on it before I actually start writing anything on it. But I will do it. I may just go from Genesis upwards and just start drawing on live stream each verse kind of thing of how I expect it to plan out, and then afterwards create the book. But I need to create the Bible, recreate the Bible in order for me to fully understand it. So I have to actually get it published by somebody. But I don't know if they're actually going to allow me. I don't know if there's like some kind of rules against that, to like take all the books of Jewish and Christian faiths and combine them into one Bible. Because, we only have Bibles that are 66 books, right? But there's very few of them that have all the Catholic books in it, all the Gnostics, and the Ethiopian and Enoch and all these other ones, text all in one. I mean, it'd be one heck of a thick book. It'd be really, really big. But, I mean, it'd be helpful. So, the Book of Enoch is probably going to be one of the best, I think. I think people are going to like that one the most because I think a lot of comic book artists know that one because it has, angels and demons falling and the Watchers and the Nephilim and all these really cool imaginative characters. So what's been the hardest part of creating y'all's characters or the book, the comic book? Just the story or the drawing part of it? I think one of my hardest part is I need to just put out work. I just need to put out a page, like at least a page a week minimum, I mean, that's pretty crappy, but that would still be better than nothing. I should be doing a page a day. Because, comic books, a lot of their stories are not that great. If you read a lot of comic books, most of them I've read are just not great. They're just not great. They're not great stories because they're rushed. They're very rushed. But it does give content, and it does give does give the artist something to draw and practice and work on, as well as the writers something to tell. So a lot of white space drawing the background. Yeah, backgrounds, dude. That's the tough one. But I started a technique trick that works for me. Don't know if it'll work for you. Don't draw your character. Don't think about your characters. Think about your background first. Like, for example, I have this one scene where I want to start off the book with like Ehud fighting his friend, but then like, do I put him in a coliseum? Do I put him in like a dirt village? Like, where do I put him? And then I realized, you know what? How about I think of a cool place, and then I throw those characters in it, and then they just have to duke it out there. Your stories focus on relationships and... Ooh, interesting. That sounds cool. So do you have multiple main characters then that you're going to be following their stories and how they intersect as a relationship? Or you have one guy and then how he relates to those relationships that he interacts with? That sounds cool because long distance, like far away. I can't even see the text here. Oh, characters with different. Oh, I see. Oh, nice. Sounds deep. Sounds real deep. So then, like, are you pretty confident in your writing then? Because it sounds like you have a really good idea of like the character development stage and stuff. Because you're talking about like them having differences from far apart and stuff. That sounds very cool. Oh, I'm sorry, Randy. I didn't even see yours. Drawing part for me, I have all these images in my head written down, but getting them down in a way that looks good is an issue. Yeah. Yeah, putting them on paper is hard. But try your best. Try your best to not draw for anybody else. Like, don't draw for somebody. It'll be for somebody eventually to enjoy, but draw for you as in like, let's say you're on an island by yourself and you're just creating this because you're so bored. You know, there's no one else on the island, so you're creating a story just for yourself, just for you to read. You know, like, and there's no one going to judge it because no one else is going to read it. It's just going to be you for the next 50 years on this island. Then if you start drawing that way, I think it works for me at least. Then I'm not too worried about being a perfectionist at that point. I'm just worried about getting it on the paper and then fixing it once I'm done if I don't like it. Putting a rat in a grinder. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's a that sounds rad. Yeah, put them in a uncomfortable situation that they're used to, or that's fitting to their character development and stuff. Hell yeah. That breeds good story and good dialogue. That's what the one thing that's wrong with a lot of comics that I read is that the artists, because they do so much mainstream stuff like Superman, all that stuff, you know what they're going to say, what kind of situation they're going to be in. Like nun turned into a stripper, a vegetarian eat meat. Oh wow, that does sound good. That sounds cool, dude. You're this is going to be great. You got to put out this comic book. You have to, even if it's like a small issue, like 20 pages or something. Put out a starter of it and at least get a teaser for people. That sounds rad. But if you're having a hard time putting it on page and you feel like your art isn't up to par to what you think is going to be good, one of the artists that I follow, he does what I don't know if I follow him actually. I think I just saw his video. Actually, I should have subscribed when I had a chance. Darn it. But he he draws it really rough, like sketchy drawing of his story in the panels and everything. He just kind of draws it, does the eyes, does like nonsense, and goes whatever. And then once he has the panel on the page done, he sets it aside, and he does that for the whole comic. He gets a whole comic book put out with the dialogue and the place and all that stuff, and it's all like scratchy art because he's just doodling. He's just like real quick, as fast as he can, putting it into the motions and the positions, and then he'll go back and then take another piece of paper and then actually draw, because now he doesn't have to think. It's all about detailing. It's all about adjustments, and adjustments are way easier to do than trying to make a perfect image the moment you're drawing it, right? Which is actually the technique I'm going to start practicing and utilizing for myself. I'm going to, for Ehud, I'm going to write out the script as a screenplay or as a book. I haven't really decided. I think maybe I'll do it as a book. It might be a fun book to read more than it is to draw, trying to cover both of my ends. I think I'm going to put out the book for my Patreon supporters so they can read it first, if they want. And if it picks up that way, then I may even try to sell the books on their own, make income that way. But once it's out there, I'm going to definitely try to start I'm just going to doodle it, and then just really go through it and put the places where I wanted to draw it, and then not worry about being perfect the first time, because what's going to happen is like you said about the backgrounds are hard. They're hard for me too. After I get done the actions and stuff, I need to go and figure out how to do the perspective of the place. So yeah, that's just going to take some time to do perspectives and the background. But usually backgrounds, if you notice, there isn't much background in most pieces of artwork, because in comic books, because that's not the main focus, unless it is the main focus, right? For example, like here, the background is the main focus, but then it's a simple skyline, right? But when you move down to the page, here, it's just a silhouette, and then even the ground just got cracks and stuff on it. It's not really a... Yeah, Spider-Man's jumping through nothing. There's nothing going on. And in the background here, the focus is him, the thing, and then the background, you can see the silhouette of Spider-Man, but it's really just scratchiness. No artist wants to work on the background. Like here is tougher because they really worked hard to develop like themes, but it's not like, it's not too tough. I think a lot of the time the background can just disappear, really. Look at this is great. I love this style. Look at this. Sheesh. Well, that last one, Randy, the issue of not having nowhere to put the panels and how to do it and stuff, this is a perfect example of who cares, just go for it. look at it. Like the kids here is like thwip, 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 mere mortal. The outcome is unsure. And then it's just text underneath the image. It's not even like placed beautifully and stuff like you would see in normal comics. And then here it's just a drawing that he cut up with black lines. And then you have a little bit of text, and then it's the actual descriptions below. I mean, I don't think there's no rules. That's what's great about comics and graphic novels. There's no rules to any of this stuff. Man, I love this stuff. Look at that. Just the colors alone sell it. Yeah, you don't need the panels actually. So the panels is great. You can either do square panels like I just showed you, or you can just make up your own panel style. The panel style I'm doing for mine is going to be no panels. I'm going to avoid panels from my comic book altogether. I read a comic book by Batgirl. Oh yeah, Batwoman. I'll show you. The panels in this one are kind of like they're semi panels, but so here's the panels, the normal panels. But this kind of shows an old time of doing things. But most of the panels in this comic are kind of like these, like they're kind of merging between the action and the object of what she's doing, and they're like, they're just kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. I saw one. Yeah, they're just kind of all over the place. And I like that. I think that's more fun. I feel like if my eyes, like if these square lines weren't here, I would have enjoyed it better. But because the square lines are here, of course it helps the viewer know which one to go to. But there was one, he did a great job. Oh yeah, like the panels are like these action things, but they're coming out of the panels. I'd highly recommend the panel thing you just have fun with. Don't worry about knowing how to do panels. Like it's extremely overrated. And the text and the font, I think once you draw the picture, you'll know where to put the bubbles and stuff. Honestly, yeah, I don't think you're gonna have a problem with that. But I do feel you, man. It's intimidating. It's not easy because not knowing where to start, not knowing where to finish, not know how people are going to take it is a big fear buster for a lot of people, even myself, you know. But life shows itself to those who are brave. So be brave and enjoy this creative skill that you have, or the skill that you desire. You know, you got one life to utilize it. Use it. Utilize it. Tell your story. It's better to get your story out there and have crappy art than never have told your story. Oh, that's great, Frozzy. I hope you do, man. Yeah, I really hope you do. I really hope. I want to see it. I want to experience what you're putting on the table. You know. And the cool thing is that once you get down to your first one, you can only get better, which is cool. So like, I get to be a part of your progression to grow. You know, and I think for both you guys, Randy and Frozzy, like if you're putting out anything, you're benefiting myself and probably many others who want to like support you in the process, because the imagination everyone loves to take part in, you know. So after your 5th book, it's going to be dope. And I'll be like, yeah, look at this guy go. And that's probably the one key thing I have to remind myself every day is like, who cares? I care too much, and that's the problem. But I just need to put it out there, because once I'm done putting it out there, I'll learn and I'll keep on learning. And that's, fail fast is really important. If I'm just doing it to make money, then obviously I've got issues I got to worry about that I shouldn't be doing it for that reason then. But if I'm doing it because I enjoy trying to tell a story and some people may like it, then success, both for me and for the person who gets to read it. You're welcome, from the ink guy. Well, I'm glad that I could be of some encouragement. I'm encouraged by you guys watching my channel and subscribing. It's very I'm very thankful. Very thankful. I was telling my friends today, I was like, man, it's so rad to have some people that actually sit on the channel and talk to, and it's encouraging that they even like this kind of art. Like growing up, it was hard to find anybody who liked my art. They're just like, it's good, but then it wasn't, wasn't other stuff. So then again, I don't have many art friends, so it's kind of hard to find people who to critique it with like honesty and stuff. Oh, that's great, Randy. I really appreciate that. I'm excited to see see what you work on and what you do, what kind of how these how your inking and characters develop. It's gonna be fun. It's fun to as artists, it is fun to grow together, and the internet has made it possible. So it's rad, man. It's super rad. Especially if you enjoy doing it too, then it's fun to see artists who actually enjoy their work and stuff. I see some artists who stress out so much about doing their work, and I'm like, well, then what's the point of doing art if you're not enjoying it? Like I enjoy inking because like this guy started out as a simple sketch we were having fun with, and now he's looking not bad. He's looking pretty solid. He's taking a long time, but to me, he's looked good. And there's like 1,000 mistakes in here, but is anyone going to notice it? No. I mean, maybe they'll notice it, but I don't think they're going to care. Yeah, if you guys ever put up a YouTube channel and start doing stuff, let me know. I'll subscribe and watch you guys throw down. I think we're stressing out about creating a comic book about all the issues that may seem hard and stuff, but the harder problem would probably be finding a publisher. That's probably gonna be the more difficult part. Is be like, okay, now how do I get this into people's hands? I mean, maybe self-publishing would be the best. Yeah, let me know, Frozzy. Let me know. Randy, you too. I'm actually going to start a Patreon. Maybe not start. My Patreon, when it starts, is going to have a mentoring section on there for kids and stuff that want to learn how to do art and also want to create their comic book. Because I found that a lot of people have that same issue of being like kind of, self-blocking themselves. So I want to run the process with them so that way they don't feel so afraid of doing it. So I can sit there with them and be like, all right, well, let's work on this. Like draw this character. What do you think? And then they can send it to me and I can be like, well, I'm going to critique it and let's see what you think and let's go further or let's see what the story can do. How do we draw it? But not doing I want to try to find a way where I'm not actually critiquing, but more of like finding a way to encourage them to continue it and not push themselves down. Because I know there's a lot of kids out there who want to do it, but they feel like they have to be a pro and be like, Stan Lee stuff. And I think that'd be a good Patreon asset to have for people to sign up. Of course, it'll take a lot of time for me to do that, but I'll have to price it. I'll have to price it, but if I was a young kid, I remember when I was like 16, if I had with the AI stuff now, you think so? I'm actually happy that AI came out with their own art things because what it's going to do for us artists who are actually learning the skill, it's going to boost up the value, and we can charge more. It says, yeah, okay, I can type in, oh, I need a cherubim that looks like this and this, but it's not going to be an original piece, and it won't be from someone's imagination, and it won't be it won't be of high quality positions and stuff like that. It will always be. I mean, it will eventually. The AI will make some really cool stuff, but it will never be from the mind of a human, and I think that's going to make our value go up. But I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I think that's what's going to happen. I hope that's what's happening. Yeah, self-publishing. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna probably run a Kickstarter on mine because I don't think I'm gonna pitch it at first to Image Comics. I've always been a big fan of Image Comics because of Spawn and stuff. And then if they don't take it, I might pitch it to Dark Horse or Boom. But honestly, doing religious kind of context is so rough. I don't know if they're going to pick it up, so I might just end up having to do the self-publishing or the Kickstarter and seeing how that's going to go. But it's fine with me, either or. The Kickstarter can be fine. I think it'll be successful. I only need to print like a couple hundred or something, and then if I could sell a couple hundred, or even 100, if I can get 100 people, which I guess that is kind of hard. Never mind, but I think I can pull it off. Maybe Indiegogo. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not that far yet, so I don't need to worry. Right now, I just got to worry about making a hell of a story. Something I would be willing to read, Okay, I think this guy down here, he's looking good. He doesn't really need much more work, I think. I think you get the idea. Go up here to this dude and fill in his chest and be done for the night. I think I'm kind of past my night for an hour and a half drawing. Let me see. Yeah, I started an hour ago, so I'm getting there. Do I want to make fur? What do I want for his skin? Maybe I'll give him like a gorilla chest. Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. I mean, that's good, but that perfectionist stuff comes in, and plus, just putting in details is fun. Little scratchiness. Gotta finish those God pictures. I'm trying to finish them all week and getting too lazy or too busy. darn it, there's another mosquito in here. What if I have my window open or something? Man, it's mosquito season. No. Oh, thanks. Yeah. The hard shadows worked out well. I try to study Frank Miller. He's really good at those kind of like hard shadows and all the blacks and stuff. The one thing about my comic book will most likely be is that it's not going to be in color. It's going to be black and white like this. I don't like color. You know, I see everything in black and white. I actually fancy, you ever see like those variant covers of comic books when they're just penciled in ink? Like I like that better than the colored version because I think in the color it loses like this detail that the artist put into it and stuff, all these lines and whatnot, because it's too close to the color, you know, and you can't really see those lines. So I like black and white art. It's gonna be purely ink. I don't know if anyone else is gonna like it, but too bad for them. I'm not gonna do it. Maybe I'll hire somebody to color it if they're really good at coloring and they want to give it a shot, you know. But it's definitely not my main focus, that's for sure. I like black and white. Inktology all the way. Yeah, the contrast is always, it looks great. It's fun. I used to have the worst contrast too. My artist friend is always like, Josh, you need to darken things up. Because I would always do it so light. Just what happens, you gotta learn. Manga art styles. Yeah, they're fine. You know, I like mangas. You know, they're cool. It's just I can't like. You know what they're really good at is telling stories and then making emotions pop and then people like interacting and then pulling out expressions really well. But when it comes to art style, anime kind of looks the same. You know what I mean? Like they all look the same. Some have different tones to them, but you really only have a selection of like 15 different styles of anime. So unless the story's solid, you know, you're kind of, you know, I'm not there to look at the art as much as I'm there to just experience the story. But when it comes to like, I want an art style, I'm looking for someone who puts their own twist to the pen, you know. That's like, I fell in love with Todd McFarlane because Todd McFarlane's inking of Spawn was just such a wild version, or he did Spider-Man, and I saw that and I was like, what? Like, this is a version of Spider-Man's way cooler than, the other guys were doing them and stuff at the time. So, you know, I prefer my comic books. I prefer classical art. I like museum art and stuff, but usually it's sketchbooks, like that the artist did, like Da Vinci's sketchbooks or stuff like that. I'm not a fan of like abstract art and all that jazz. I think the process has always been more interesting to me, and then how they try to capture certain ideas. So I've always picked up on like the sketchiness and the rough lines of the pencil and pen. Okay, where's this mosquito that's getting me? Silent but deadly mosquito. I mean, you guys read a lot of anime or mangas? I haven't read one in so long. I think the last one I started reading was Berserker. Never finished it. Yeah, I think it's just these guys they've done it so many times they can understand where to put those the speed lines and the shadows so much. But a lot of the process is up in your brain too. So whenever you see something, like a lot, I know I don't know if this is an issue with you guys, or I know for myself, like sometimes I'll start drawing an image, and when I have it let it pop in my head, when it pops into my head, I want to put it on paper right away so I can maintain the image. But what I forget to do is actually place that image and look at it in my head at the shadows that it has. Because I have like these moments, like for this guy, he's coming down this mountain, sliding down this mountain or something. He's like ready to go. And in my head, that's all I pictured, right? And I can see his wings, I can see his beak, I can see him even screaming, going, and then like the wings kind of flapping, but I'm focused so much on what he's doing, I'm not stopping to take a picture of him in my head and go, what makes him look cool in my head? And I think that's where Japanese anime manga artists, they stop and freeze frame the image in their head, and they're able to see the contrast and those speed lines and all that kind of stuff and be like, oh, that feels good, which is something I need to practice more, for the most part. Yeah, like for example, his hair should be flowing more to give more action, but I just I'm drawing, I'm thinking of like putting a mane, so I put a mane. I didn't really think about the mane blowing in the wind. And it's those little small details that really keep the character alive. And that's why it's important to doodle it out first and like get it rough and not worry about stuff, so you can go back and go, well, why isn't this working? Well, because, his hair's not moving, or his mouth isn't open, he's not screaming or whatever. His wing doesn't look like it's flowing, getting wind hitting across it. Everything looks so stationary, So I have that problem. That's one of my biggest problems. Yeah, Berserk. Berserk is a dope manga. I should have finished it. I don't read much anymore. Mangas, just because they'll absorb your soul. You know what I mean? Like they'll really take your time, which is fine. It's great to live in that world, but I'm trying to study so I can create my own world. So it's like I need to be consumed by my own story and my own characters and fall in love with my characters and develop them the way I need to. So I've been practicing that a lot, and it's been fun. It's been fun to live with my characters, like Ehud. You know, in the Bible one, like he's more from just an assassin to now he's a he's a gay assassin. He's not even, yeah, he is gay. He's gay because he's left-handed, and in the history of the left-handed in the Middle East back in those days, and even in modern cultures today, the left hand is not used for food and eating stuff with. It's used for your genitalia. You know, it's used for your private parts and stuff like that, right? So whenever he meets the king shuts the doors and tells everybody to leave, and there's this moment that they go to the top of the roof to cool down. So there's like this almost like provocative sexual enticements between this, calf king and Ehud. So I never, without study, I would not have known all this. So I was like, oh, wow, I was just going to make him like Assassin's Creed dude, but now I get to like play with a character that I've never even thought about, like, a gay character. Like I've never even thought about creating a gay character. Like it's not even crossed my mind. But now I get the opportunity to like live with this character and see what he would be like going through, and like what kind of emotions or hardships he would face in those days being someone who's promiscuous. Is there even hardship? Because in those days, Sodom and Gomorrah, even before that, they were very promiscuous with men and women. And then Greek people would, there's no problem with men and being with, like, a man could be married to a woman, but then he can go sleep with another man and it wouldn't even be considered an issue. Right? And a woman could do the same thing, go sleep with another woman, and it'd be like, whatever, that's just the way the culture was. So it's like, well, how do I get to translate this character and make this something, either beneficial or not beneficial to his culture? So it's just kind of interesting. So I've been really happy to kind of like live with my characters more than read a manga and get absorbed into like Berserk and One Punch Man seems really cool, but that seems like a lot. I was going to do One Piece, but then that seems like that's like so many, that's so much. You know how many books that is? Oh my goodness. Never end. Never finish before I die. Okay, cool guys. I'm done for the night. I just wanted to get a little bit more done. So here we go. I should zoom out. Get my hair off of here. Thank you, Frozzy. Thank you, Randy. I hope that I get to see your artwork and your characters and your comic book soon. Sooner than later, dude. Because, you guys sound like you have really awesome stuff you're working on, and I want to be a part of it. So, don't be shy. And yeah, thank you. This is the Cheribum detailed out. This is me starting him. Long way to go for him on that, but let's see. Why can't I just zoom out, Josh? Come on now. There we go. I will see you guys another time. Tomorrow night, I will probably be on around the same time, if not maybe even later. I don't know. But hey, I really appreciate you guys, and I hope you all have a great night. Get some rest. And remember, for anyone who's watching, if you're a creative, go out there and create. And I will see y'all soon.